Hey, shalom, shalom. First off, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Radash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who all learned the truth of the gospel of Yahweh Shai from through the Holy Spirit. Honor, salutations, and blessings to the men that are preaching the gospel of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, in all sincerity, diligence, and truth. And peace and grace and blessings be upon the house of David, which is the elect. So I just wanted to touch on a couple articles, all right, going in of this war, all right, this third world war that is, really it's active already, all right, and you got members of both sides that are proclaiming this. Okay, you got members of the Russia that are saying this, and then you got certain particular countries in the NATO that are saying that they're at war. And then also in NATO, you got other countries saying that they're not at war, which is showing you how, Satan's house is divided. All right. So showing you how that the beast and the whore, which is at helm of the beast, they're not all in unison. All right. So this first article, it says U.S. and NATO on path to full-fledged military conflict in Europe. Washington and its allies are putting the world at risk, Russia deputy envoy to the OSCE has warned. America's reckless neo-colonist expansionist policy has put Europe and possibly the world on the brink of a devastating conflict. Russia deputy envoy to the Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe has warned. Continued escalation of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine could spiral into an all-out war that will see no victors, Maxim Borakovich told the OSCE Permanent Council on Thursday, right? So they're already, foreseeing or saying that what America is doing, how they are aggressively escalating this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which really it's a war between NATO and Russia. Okay, America knows that. They're just using Ukraine as their front the front line. All right, that's why they're constantly giving them billions of dollars. Although you just had America hit their spending debt limit, but they're still just giving them billions of dollars. Now they're giving them actual military arsenal, right? They're giving them tanks. I seen something that said that Zelensky is now asking for F-16 fighter jets. Okay, but something that this guy said, he said that there will be no victors, which is partially true, because there's not going to be no victors that are currently fighting in this war, right? There's not going to be no victors of these heathens, because during this war, the victor is going to make his appearance. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, Yahweh Shai, is going to return and fight in this war. He is going to be the victor. All right. That's why the scriptures tells us in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, verse 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. See, this is what our job is. See, as Israelites, we don't have any you would say we don't have any military on the earth. All right. We don't have any standing army. Our army, our military is coming from the spirit realm. It's coming from the heavens. So our job as prophets is we're proclaiming this war that is brewing up, that is happening amongst the heathens, amongst the Gentiles. They're the ones that's gathering up and preparing for war. It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak, the weak nations say, I am strong. Okay, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. You see that once again. This is why, as servants of the Lord, as Israelites, we are telling these nations that they're about to go to war against each other. All right, they're about to go to war, which ultimately the Lord is causing, so that, and as it says in the first verse, let me actually run that. What is it? Verse 1. For behold, in those days and at that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh Shaphat, right? Which means, as it says here, the Lord judges, or the Lord judgment, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So this world war that is happening is happening to ultimately bring the deliverance of Israel out of bondage, out of captivity of Babylon the Great. All right, and the various Israelites elect that are scattered throughout the world. Okay, that's why it says, verse 11 says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together around about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. And who are the mighty ones? The angels. All right, starting with Yahweh Shai, the chief angel. He's going to cause the angels to come down during this war. So let's read on. So there's going to be a victor. It ain't going to be no heathens. It's going to be Israel. All right, because Yahweh Shai is, like I said, he is going to join into this war. Revelation 19 says, verse what that is, I think it's out of 14, that in righteousness doeth he judge and make war. So it says the leaders of the U.S. and their NATO client states have come close to a red line, the diplomat warned, citing the U.S. and other Western nations' plans to send dozens of modern battle tanks to Kyiv. Right, because America really is Rome, right, pursuant to Revelation the 13th chapter, and NATO can be considered like what is that, member states, all right, or what was the title during the ancient Rome, the various other countries that basically Rome overtook. I want to say it's member states, but I might be mistaken on that, on the actual terminology. But that's why it calls NATO its client states, right? It says, citing the U.S. and other Western nations' plans to send dozens of modern battle tanks to Kyiv, Boyakovich accused Washington and its allies of deliberately escalating the military standoff in Ukraine and of provoking Kyiv into military action against Russia population. This is a straight path to a full-blown conflict in Europe, which absolutely all people living on our continent definitely stand to lose from, the Russian diplomat warned. He also said that the U.S., which is the whore, Babylon the Great, and the U.K., which he described as puppet masters of the ongoing conflict, would hardly be able to sit out either. And they're not going to be able to, because the Lord is having all of this action happen, all of this conflict stir up to ultimately bring in the destruction of Babylon, America. Okay? And that's why prophecy and understanding prophecy is so important, because you got a lot of people, even in America, have this mindset that America, it won't be involved. America is not going to get touched during this war. All right, that's a European problem. That's a Ukraine and Russia problem. But as we are seeing, as the guy just said, America's not going to be able to sit out, because America is the one that is supplying the most aid, monetarily or militarily, to Ukraine. Okay. Let's just skip around. Let's see. I'll go to the last paragraph. It says, earlier this week, both U.S. and Germany announced plans to send modern Western tanks to Ukraine. Other NATO nations have already voiced similar intentions. Russia responded by saying that NATO's direct involvement in the conflict in Ukraine was growing. Moscow previously warned that the West continue arms supplies to Kyiv risk a direct military conflict between Russia and NATO. All right, so they're already saying that there's going to be a direct military conflict between Russia and NATO, and this is something that once again, the prophets have been constantly warning about. All right, but we know that this conflict, although it can start, it can't finish until all prophecies are fulfilled, because the last prophecy is that Revelation 18th chapter of America being Babylon the Great being destroyed, right? But before Babylon the Great is destroyed, the prophecy of the Charagma has to take place. And the Lord, and the fact that you're seeing this type of rhetoric in, being spoken by both sides, because we have Russia or Moscow, they said that about direct conflict, right? And then you had let me get this one, right? You had a foreign minister deputy of Germany said that they're at war with Russia. So both sides are saying that they're at war, which constitutes what? A world war. Because if NATO is at war and they're claiming that they're at war, and even though it's maybe one country, but according to Article 5 of the NATO treaty, if one country that goes to war, then all of the countries in NATO have to go to war. But see, all of the countries in NATO are not with that. They're not with going to war with Russia. And that is going to cause a dissemination of confederacy between certain countries, and ultimately between the beast in America, because America is the one that is pushing for this conflict to continue to escalate. Even though Germany sent tanks, I was reading something earlier that said that they were reluctant to send tanks over to Ukraine. But, Washington, which is America, they basically forced their hand, because the horse sits on the beast, right? She's at the helm. So let's read this. It says, nobody told me we're at war, NATO's state's president. The U.S. and Germany might be at war with Russia, but that is news to Croatia, said Zoran Milanovic, commenting on the German foreign minister's declaration that Europe is fighting a war against Russia. Croatian President Zoran Milanovic said on Thursday that this was news to him and wished Berlin better luck than World War II. Croatia should in no way help Ukraine militarily, Milanovic said while visiting the port city of Split in spiritual, right? Because there's a split in between NATO, all right, countries, and which America is a part of NATO. It says, do you want us to enter into the war? Framing the Ukraine conflict as one between Washington and Moscow, he reminded reporters that he was criticized for merely echoing the words of Kyiv's defense minister about the current conflict being a proxy war between NATO and Russia. All right. So once again, United States is using the Ukraine as their frontline soldiers. That's why they're constantly giving billions of dollars to Zelensky, because they know that Ukraine doesn't really stand a chance by himself against Russia. But they have that puppet leader there, Zelensky, right? Which was a comedian, and he did drag. And he was dressed up in women's apparel. All right, you can go Google that. And all of a sudden now he's a president. He's a war hero. He's the man of the year, right? Getting all these accolades. And that's ultimately because he is being told as the guy said, he's a puppet master. I mean, he's a puppeteer, or not even a puppeteer. He's a puppet for Washington, for America, which really is a puppet for the banking elites, because as the saying goes, all wars are bankers' wars. All right, they're the ones that is operating this, thinking that they're going to be able to get some benefit, whether it be monetarily, right? Whether it be trying to bring in a new world order, and in order to do that, you need some drastic, society changing event to take place, and that usually is why war happens. Okay, so it says, now the German foreign minister says we must be united because, I quote, we are at war with Russia. I didn't know that, Milanovic said. Maybe Germany is at war with Russia, but then good luck. Maybe this time it turns out better than 70 odd years ago. Right? So you have over here in Croatia, they're saying, no, we're not at war. You may be at war, but we're not at war. Let me jump. It says, unless the U.S. and Russia are holding some kind of talks, the world is slowly sliding into World War III. Okay? And as the scripture tells you, there's 3 woes. 3 woes. The third woe cometh quickly. And we can see that it's right before our very eyes. It's happening. Yahweh Shai even told us that the end is going to come with war and rumors of war. All right. So it says, some people think that it has already begun, but I have my reservations, and it has already begun. It may not have been, nuclear yet, but that is the height of this war. But the fact that you have Moscow seeing this as a war between themselves and NATO and America, and then you have certain countries, namely Germany, that is saying that they're at war with Russia, that is already showing you the mind that these kings are in, which ultimately the Lord is the one that's putting that in their mind. All right, let's get that in Proverbs 21, verse 1. It says, the king's heart, aka his mind, Lob, is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So he is putting it in the minds of these nations and these kings, right? These leaders, to think this way, because we are in a time of war. Right? Let's get that. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 8. It says, actually, let me start at 1. I jump to 8. It says, to everything there is a season, and to a time to every purpose under the heaven. So the Lord has everything set up by time. Prophecy is set up by time. All right. He says in 2nd Esdras, he doesn't stir one or move one until until the said one be fulfilled. Roughly paraphrasing. By number he has numbered it, by measure he has measured it, and it's not stirred or moved until until the first one is fulfilled. One prophetic event can't skip over another prophetic event, because to everything there's a time and a purpose. So that's why the charagma has to come before the destruction. But because we're seeing World War III taking shape, these NATO and Russia are in these talks, and not just NATO and Russia too, right? Because you got different war fronts. You got Iran and the 48ers. They're butting heads. And now that you got Netanyahu, which has been headstrong about going in and fighting, attacking Iran. He's back in office. He's back in leadership. That's another war front prophetically that is going to take place as well. Okay. And then you also have, just to add the icing, the prophetic icing to the cake, Turkey, which is prophesied to be an ally, prophesied to be allied with Russia, is at odds with NATO. And that's something that, whenever I talk about, the events, that is something that I always speak on briefly, because that is literally prophetic prophecy speaking. That is literally something that was written, okay, over 26 some odd 100 years ago, that is actually being coming into fruition right now. All right, Ezekiel spoke about Gog and Magog, or the Medes, however you want to say it, being allied with Togomar and Gomer, which that landmass area is Turkey. So it's all happening, man. It's all happening. So let's jump down to verse 8. It says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And the fact that you got these countries that are speaking about World War III shows you what time we're in. All right. If we wasn't in a time of war, then these nations wouldn't be speaking about war. But because we're in that time and the Lord is putting it on their mind, that is what is on the menu. So in this last article, we read earlier that Germany said that they're at war with Russia. But here France, another prominent NATO member, says what? France denies the West is at war with Russia. It says the fact that U.S. and Germany and several other countries announced that they would be supplying Ukraine with main battle tanks doesn't mean NATO is at war with Moscow, the French foreign minister said on Wednesday. The comments from Kwai come after the controversial speech by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock in the European Parliament earlier this week. We are not at war with Russia, and none of our partners are, minister spokesman Ann said on Thursday. The delivery of military equipment does not constitute co-belligerence. Well, tell that to Russia, tell that to Moscow, because the way they see it is they're now going into conflict with Russia. With U.S. and NATO. Now you got some countries, like they said here, some countries a part of the NATO are with that, but you got some countries that are not with that, which is going to cause, like I said before, is going to cause a Satan house to be divided, and ultimately is going to cause a friction between the beast and the whore. All right, which that is going to cause the beast to turn against the whore and hate the whore and burn her flesh with fire, aka shoot missiles at America during this World War III. And that's part of the reason why America is going to be utterly destroyed, along with the actual enemies of America, like Russia, Iran, China, etc. And then on top of that, Yahweh Shai coming, the mighty ones coming down. All right. I must jump. It says, seeking to drum up support for tank deliveries on Tuesday, Baerbock told the Parliament Assembly of the Council of Europe that the EU must move in lockstep because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. And that is a very interesting thing to say, because why would you need to say that? Why would you need to say that you're not fighting a war with each other? Must mean that you guys have different opinions, different minds. Satan house being divided, and as Yahweh Shai said, if Satan house is divided, it cannot stand but have an end. In Babylon the Great, America's hegemony, along with NATO and the EU, all right, the beast, it has an end. And John the Revelator saw that end. Okay, he saw how America and Esau's rulership got taken down, and it was thus with violence, as it says in Revelation 18th chapter. Thus with violence shall Babylon the Great fall. You know what? Let me pull that up. Revelation chapter 18, verse Revelation 18, verse 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. So like I said earlier, all this is happening for the controversy of Zion, for Israel, the Israelites, the elect of Israel, to be redeemed and put back in their proper state, which is to be the kings and priests of the earth, along with Yahweh Shai. All right, the Lord is going to judge this whore that has been drunken with the blood of the saints. And there's no country on the earth that has shed the blood of the Israelites more than Babylon the Great, America. You won't find no country with more blood of the Israelites on its soil than America, which is a signal, all right? It's a sign that shows that this is Babylon the Great. It says, verse 21, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Utter destruction. All right. And that's going to come once again by way of this war that is being spoken of, the war to end all wars. All right. So, I end it there, Lord willing. This was edifying unto the elect. Okay. We clearly see what time it is. All right. So stay locked in. Stay focused on prophecy. The spirit of the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. All right. And be patient and wait and see, stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord, because the Lord is doing it. The Lord is working. All we got to do is just maintain our faith, maintain our confidence. All right. And endure all of the hell. All right. That's this last straight gate that we got to go through. But understanding and seeing how the Lord is doing all these things for us, man. Okay, he is doing this for us. So with that, Lord willing, is edifying unto the elect. Till next time, shalom.